I, I have a plaque in my house. I actually have two plaques since I used to have two houses. But they say the same thing. Be still and know that I am. It comes from a biblical reference, which is be still and know that I am God. In either case, there's a strong commandment in that to be still. And then a very key word, know. And then the phrase that I am. Profound, profound teaching in that. The be still part is crucial. And you all know that because walking around during the day, watching TV, reading the newspaper, thinking about all the crazy stuff that's going on in the world doesn't really allow you to know that I am. It does, but it's so mixed up with thought and emotion and feeling and drama and all the different things that are happening around you that the knowing is very fragmented and kind of broken up all over the place, and certain moments take precedence and other moments fade away, and then trying to find the coherence in all of it is very difficult. So stillness is crucial. And each of you knows how often it is that you are still. You know, I don't want to be pontifical and tell you you should or shouldn't or anything like that, but I will tell you that in times of great upheaval and drama, stillness is a great respite. It helps. Out of stillness, this awareness grows called knowing. Knowing is different in many ways for all of us in terms of how it is that we know. For some of us, it's like, oh, I get it. It's a thought, it's a piece of knowledge. For others, it is an intuitive feeling, a awareness of or a consciousness of something greater, a larger umbrella which encompasses everything. The knowing is a profound clarity. And it doesn't break down into pieces. It's a kind of global ha. Once you start to break it down, it loses some of its richness and depth. And the best expression of it and the best experience of it is in the still pointedness. But the idea of I am, knowing that I am, or that I am God, is not really an egoistic, egocentric, personal knowing. It is something that transfers from an awareness that is something you have to something you are. It goes from me and being into knowing and having no persona, no person, no separate self that is aware. The I am, or I am God, dissolves the you that knows. Be still and know that I am is a transference from your own individual, separate, worried, fearful, hoping, pleasure-seeking being into letting all of that go as you sit still and you know that I am. The I am that you know has within it a comfort that is at the core of being. It is an awareness of all that is and the ability to see the temporary nature of all that manifests. So you begin to be the witness of sunrise, sunset, good health, bad health, life, death, all of the dramas that occur within the I am. And learning to move into I am is what we're doing. Right now, it's still doing for most of us. It's a process, but it does extrapolate into something where the you that's doing it is no longer part of the equation. And it's a realization that the you that's doing it has always been a temporary part of the equation. It comes into being and it goes out of being. It arises and it falls away. Most of us think of that as life and death. But in spiritual terms, it's not the life and death biologically and physically of the body. It's the ego-minded awareness, the separateness of awareness that comes into play. As soon as we're born, it starts to form and it starts to grow and evolve and become something quite fascinating, quite individualized, quite special. And then as people live within the confines of that ego-minded perception, some of them occasionally wake up to or find a desire for something that frees them from the limitation of that smaller witnessing self. Mostly as we get older, that self becomes more and more confined in a body that doesn't work as well as it used to, that has grown bigger, older, lost its hair, lost its mobility. We start to feel pain and discomfort and unhappiness and a sense of incredible unpleasantness in the biological being. And yet there we still are. And so for those of us who have learned or have begun to have the gift of stillness, this awakening awareness starts to happen, and you begin to witness the dissolution of your mind-body egoistic self into the I am that contains it. It's a gift. Any of you who are getting old enough to witness the loss of the ego-minded biological self, the pain that goes along with that, the suffering that goes with that, those of you lucky enough to have witnessed that, or beginning to witness that and knowing you have an alternative, that alternative is just be still and know that I am, is an unbelievable gift. There are so many people out there not availing themselves of that awareness. So many people, and anyone who turns on the news or looks at a newspaper or just looks around you, you see a lot of people who have not been told or who have not learned or who have not grasped that teaching. They are looking in all the wrong directions. You feel in a way the suffering of the masses, the collective communal consciousness that we all have, that this is not an easy time. And people are looking in so many different ways and being forced in a certain sense, in many cases, to sit still. But they don't like it. They don't like stillness because they have to stare at their infirmities, stare at the fact that their body's falling apart, stare at the fact that their mind is not giving them solutions to anything. And there's a lot of pain in that. And so sitting still seems like an invitation to suffering. And in a way, in the beginning, it is. Any of us who've begun this process over the course of time know that when it started out, getting oneself to sit still, getting oneself to feel the doorway open, the process of going to a doorway opening is to discover a doorway closed. And so you start to sit in front of that doorway and you knock and you turn the handle and you do all this stuff and you just sit. And in Rudy's terms, you ask for help. And gradually the door opens. But if you don't have faith and trust in that possibility, then you're just going to go sit and turn on the TV or turn on the radio or music or whatever it is that will cloud your mind again and put the noise factor in so you don't have to look at all this stuff. So being still and being willing to suffer what it means to sit still long enough for one to know. Again, to know is to experience, to feel, to become aware, to become conscious that underneath the noise and the fear and the distraction, I am exists. Not only does it exist, it embraces and comforts and holds the separate self in its existence, in its palm of its hand, if you will. That I am is the totality. It is the absolute. One of the extraordinary things of the awakening mind, the enlightened mind, is the discovery that you are that I am. You are that. You are not just a particle of the whole. There is this strange awareness in knowing that allows you to be the totality and the absolute, to be all there is. Being all there is means that you are that, and you are at this moment in time also this molecule of awareness, this separate molecule. The polarities between that separate molecule and the totality of being is a remarkable polarity. But when you loosen up the reins on that molecule and you just relax, be still, and know, suddenly you have I am. I am. You may be able to hold on to that, which means that the molecule is still in play, or you may let go of the molecule and just go, ah. It's easy to go, ah, when you're sitting still in a monastic life, when you're in the moment of life where you don't have to worry about too much. But most of you have probably figured out that moment doesn't last long. But when it happens, it feels wonderful. When it's not happening, you're experiencing ambition, hope, fear, panic, despair, joy, all of that stuff, which captures the molecule's attention. And the molecule is so wrapped up in all of those experiences of the I am that it forgets what it is. It forgets the I am. So in a time like this, when the pull outward is so powerful, when you can literally sit in front of the TV all day, and I have people I love who literally do that, and you can be completely engulfed in the wild drama that is unfolding around us. Or you can feel the totality, know that the drama is part of that totality, but it is a part of something so much greater, so much bigger, so much beyond. And that so much bigger and beyond is you. Not the worrying day-to-day you, it's the you in which that all takes place. So, in a way, the weekly lesson that I seem to bring ad nauseum is sit still. And you would think once somebody knew that and did it, the ride would be over. And you wouldn't need people like me or the hundreds of books that are written elsewhere or other teachers kind of saying the same thing to remind you to do this, to witness that I am, to live that I am. It's an extraordinary thing. You know, recently I've been meeting some people, particularly one person, who is an emanation of everything I talked about last week, which was kindness and compassion. And he's working on my house. And the other day, I went downstairs and our barbecue had a propane tank. It had not had a propane tank before because we hadn't had a chance to go get one. We haven't had a chance to use it. And I looked at it, I was so confused. And then he mentioned to me, oh, I got you a propane tank because I noticed you didn't have one. And I went, huh, this level of kindness, not just as a behavior and as a feeling, but as an actual doing, came from a person who has no awareness in the individualized sense that I am. He has what I would call Christ consciousness, and that he is a great devotee of the teachings of Jesus. He sees himself, I think, as a student, and I reference him not to embarrass him, but because his lack of awareness of who he is in the equation is so beautiful to me, that he just is an emanation of love and kindness. I've never seen anybody quite like it. The lack of consciousness is almost the most beautiful part. Those of us trying to be that often walk around with a kind of ownership. I have that awareness, or I have touched that awareness, or I am aware that I am, or whatever that is, and that automatically colors it and kind of gets in the way. This guy, nothing got in the way. He was just purely humble. And in a way, all of our journey, all of our journeys are to that kind of just pure humility. And one of the ways to get to that humility is to recognize you are what you are in the manifested sense and in the unmanifested. And in the manifested sense, you are a vulnerable human being struggling to be whatever it is you're struggling to be. Honor that. Honor your incompletion. Honor your effort. Honor your fears. Honor your hopes. Honor all of the parts of you as they are. And one of the great things for me now, after sitting with you for so many years, and it's taken me a long time because I kept feeling I could alter you, or the way I would think Rudy was trying to alter me, that there was a kind of something would happen and I would become different. When in fact, what really is happening and what I'm recognizing in all of you is you're not going to become different. I'm not going to make you this or that or some other version of you. What you will become is a whole version of what you are. That there's nothing to be fixed. There's nothing to be changed and altered. All that has to happen is be still and know that I am. That's the totality. Not to make you into some wonderful person or a great teacher or a great saint. Anyone who knows they're a saint is in trouble. I think we are all vulnerable, little tiny molecules of something extraordinary. And when you understand your molecularity and you understand that it comes and goes, and in the larger scheme of things, it does it like that. Don't try to perfect the outer form. It doesn't last. Every one of us is meant for death and destruction sooner or later. But while we're here in this manifested state, we can be still. We can know that I am and function accordingly. And part of that functioning, I talk about this weekly, but it's become so powerful for me, is the inner directive of the I am, the guidance system telling us what to do moment to moment to moment. I cannot stress that enough. When you don't know what to do, sit still and it will tell you. It will tell you in every little detail. Pick that thing up off the sidewalk and put it in the garbage. It's that simple. The idea of you inside being directed by this great, powerful force that knows and sees everything, everything. And it tells you how to live with it, because the I am is all there is. It is total and absolute. And it is your best friend. It is your lover. It is your companion. It is all that is other, and it is all that is you, together in one force, in one form, and you are that. So what I implore you to do week by week by week, and again, I say so often, you know, once you get it, you don't have to come here. And any one of you that feels complete in this, you know, why listen to these talks week by week? But the great thing about the I am, the great thing about I am, is that for reasons that I do not comprehend, it is always new. It is always arising as if for the first time. It is always coming into being second by second all the time. So therefore, even though you've heard this a billion times, in a way, if it comes from the right place, from the I am, you will hear it for the first time. And when you hear it, all you need to do is pay attention, listen, know that you are that I am that. That's the ride. We're all on it, every one of us. Some people know it, some people don't. There is a benefit to it. Don't take it personally, because people who don't know it are as benefited by it as those that don't. The nice part about paying attention is that you have the guidance system. You know, it's like the GPS, I think I said that last week, but the GPS, in the old days, you had a map and somebody would be reading you the map. No, turn left. No, don't miss, come on, do this. Don't do that. That was how we were guided through life, if we had somebody with a map next to us. Otherwise, we had to read the map while we were driving and stop and look and say, oh my God, where am I? That's gone. We have a GPS. We all have a GPS. And that GPS is working beautifully. It's the best GPS system in the world. And if you pay attention, turn here, go left, be quiet, sit down, be still, and know that I am. That's the ultimate of the GPS. Not where to go, but how to be here. How to be here now. So, for those of you for whom this is highly repetitive and you get it, I will love you forever. You need not show up. For those of us who need to hear it on a regular basis, we'll continue this practice. We'll continue sitting, and don't feel stupid about it, because it isn't. It's easy to grasp on one level and it's really hard on another. Our little molecule is so busy and so affected by the day-to-day changeability of the universe that it's very hard to hold the stillness. All you have to do is remember to go back to it. Go back, go back. And then if you can really hold it or allow yourself to surrender to it, it will just guide you for the rest of your life and beyond. Okay. I should unmute you, and then if there's any questions, you can ask them. Hold on a second, I will unmute you if I remember how to do it. Looks like you're not muted. Can you talk, everybody?
You don't need to unmute. Everybody can do it themselves.
Okay. Okay. So, any questions at all? Mary, I can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself. Can't hear you. Sorry.
Hi, Jacinta and Joseph.
What?
Hello, Jacinta and Joseph.
Oh.
It's just so nice to see them. And Blanche and all of you, so nice to see you. It really makes me happy.
We really are a community, and we have ancient connection. And that connection weaves through the totality of this, and it's really a beautiful quality. Anybody else?
Bruce, I have a question.
Okay.
These teachings are clearly to come back to the I am, the still place. And you talked about, we can go to the chaos, we can come back, or at least be in that dance. How do you also understand this in terms of where we are as a species right now in human evolution? Do you feel that this, because some of us have been doing this for many years, it feels like the I am is almost more important now in some ways than before. But even my question has to do with how do you see it interacting with society and also in human interpersonal relationships, us with one another, within this Sangha and outside of the Sangha?
Well, my guess is you can answer that question for yourself. But, it's not the first time in the world that there have been pandemics. It's not the first time in the world that multiples of people have died from interaction with each other. It's a really powerful experience, and it's very revealing. What's unique about this time is mass media, social media. We are getting to witness the other in ways we never were able to do before. So we're seeing the wisdom and the stupidity of much of our collective being, and we can't do much about it. You can't walk up to people who, let's say, won't wear a mask and try to change their worldview. It's very hard to do, and the collective may finally work, and if enough of them start to get sick or something of that nature, that may come out of this. But changing intelligence is not easy. It's many lifetimes for many people. I was saying a few weeks ago, I have this strange, I don't know if it's a skill, and I don't even know if it's real, but the ability to look at people and to say how many more lifetimes they'll need to awaken. And you can look at some people and go 2, 3, 12. Some are like 400,000, 12, 1,020,000. There are people who are going to take a long time, and they're all part of us, part of this collective experience. So our individual molecular popping into awareness is based on our own sort of development and karmic awareness. And some of us will pop in periods like this, and some will get more problematically twisted up than ever. And you can see that even in the political realm, people who are creating much more drama for themselves in a karmic sense than you would ever want for anybody. And yet it's really amazing to watch how that works. There are places of people who are waking up, and there are places where people are really creating great pain for themselves and for the collective, because we are collective. That's what we are. And this journey for all of us right now will probably be like all journeys. It will have terrible consequence and wonderful consequence, like everything. It comes and it goes. Every time there's a bad thing that happens, something usually beautiful comes out of it, and out of that, something else happens, and again, something beautiful can arise. I have mornings where I'm very, very negative and pessimistic about it all, and then I have days where I'm totally optimistic. There's a possibility that out of this terrible darkness that we seem to be going through, that a remarkable light will emerge and change the world, and maybe even save the world. That's kind of, I think, what may be happening right now, that in the most wonderful sense, this world may be benefiting from the dark period we're going through, and that the planet itself may be benefiting from what we're going through. There may be such profound change ahead that the world will find a different way of operating than it has before. I wasn't alive in the 30s, but I lived very close to, maybe a lot of us do, to Roosevelt, the state, and Roosevelt was one of the great transformers, if you will, of our social structure. He started to see things in the collective about how can I take care of the larger mass of men. How can I give artists work when there's no work for anybody? How can I, provide health care? How can I create social security? All of that came out of a terrible depression, out of a really terrible time. That kind of thing can emerge again. The world, which needs a great deal of we're in this together experience, may emerge from having had this collective pandemic experience. Because if the world is going to get saved as a planet, it has to happen very, very quickly. And I never saw quite what the road would be to that as much as I am right now. I really see this being the very wake-up call that we need. We'll know more in November, whether it worked or didn't work. I think we have a really interesting time ahead. In my happier moments, I think this is going to be an unbelievably remarkable transformational time. In my darker moments, I go to the same place everybody else does. Oh my God, how do we deal with this? I don't know, but either extreme of those places that I go, what I do every day is sit still and know that I am. The planet is very wise, and the planet is going to do what it has to do for its own survival. I don't think it cares that much about us. And I think it will really allow for whatever has to happen to keep it going. And if it has to eliminate the human virus, it will do that. But that virus may find a way of inoculating itself and creating a form of life that will be protective of the world rather than destructive of the world. And if we do that, life will go on. If we don't do that, this little molecularity of human experience on this planet will evaporate. That on some level is terrifying, especially for those of us who love other people or have children or grandchildren that we love or happen to love the planet itself. It would be terrible. But I will tell you, the I am is so massive, so vast, so big, and includes, I think, so many forms of life in the universe. We're a speck like that. I think we're a really important speck, and we may be the only speck. I mean, that is really a possibility. But whatever we are, we have to do the right thing, and the right thing is whatever you are told to do moment to moment. Trust me, it's not a plan that your head makes. It's not like you have to run for Congress. It's not like you have to do anything particularly unless yourself says to you when you are in total stillness, do this, do that. You pay attention to that, the world will be a better place. If we all did that, this world would be perfection. But,
Thank you.
yeah.
I appreciate that.
Sure. Anybody else?
Yeah, Bruce, I have a question. I've always somehow been able to find joy in small things, even when things are going very badly in a bigger sense. And I'm finding that much more difficult now. And of course, living in Florida, things keep getting worse and worse. And so I'm trying to figure out where to go when I can't find the joy.
Well, this again it's the practice. The work of being still is work. Rudy called it a practice, and he called it that because you have to do it repeatedly, you have to go deeper. And in times like this, or in times like when you get really sick, or when the world is really in danger, your work requires a deeper muscle system, more effort, more time, more giving yourself over to the practice, because otherwise you will succumb to the outside forces, which are really scary right now, to the molecular self. They really are. We're all one connection away from death, really. Meeting the wrong person, there we are, communicated. And that's not easy to live with. So if you do the work, whatever it is that you're supposed to do in the moment will be revealed to you. And that's all you can ask for. And that guidance system works through the pain of death. It carries you all the way. Not that it doesn't at times disappear, but it will return. You have to ask, and you have to pray, if you will, for its presence and its power. But if you do your half of the equation, it does its part. And the two forces together are liberating. But you can't let this be a time where you slide or give yourself over to despair, because what is that going to do? Nothing. Nothing. It's human to do it. And if you do it, forgive yourself, because forgiving yourself will become part of the doorway to finally going through to the space of knowing. But if you are unforgiving, then you just become unkind to yourself, uncompassionate to yourself, and you end up creating more problem for yourself. So accept the fact that you're human. You're a molecule that gets scared and suffers and has difficulties. We're all there together, every one of us. There's no one I know who's beyond that. Maybe a few people, but we're part of the masses, you know. And as part of the masses, we can only do what we can do. Do your best. Open your heart. Understand, Florida is part of the country. It's part of the world, and what's going on there is very enlightening to everybody, because it did everything wrong on some level. And if you want to learn to do what's right, you often have to examine the thing that was wrong. Really helpful. So you just happen to be there in the midst of it. Good luck. Stay safe, you know, which is, you know, I mean, we all know what to do, you know, social distance, masks, you know, be careful. That's what you do. And with good practice and good luck, you will ride through this thing, which may, unfortunately, be longer than any of us are prepared to deal with. That's the big thing. I think I'm hearing from a lot of people right now who thought this would be over by now. And they're realizing it's not going to be over. My daughter-in-law and my son, who are now going, oh my God, the kids are going to be home for another 6 months or a year. That's a big, big revelation. If that's what happens, it changes the equation in a very dramatic way. How do I deal with the prolonged experience here? And it could go on longer than any of us want, probably already has. But what do we do? Sit still and be still and know that I am. Somehow there's a ride through this. And I think that stillness may force many of us into deeper and deeper places where this thing that I'm talking about, the knowing I am, may finally reveal itself, because you got nowhere else to go. This is it. You have total opportunity to sit still and know, more than you've ever had. We all do. We all have that. So take advantage or not. Your choice.
Thank you.
Bruce,
Yes.
thank you very much. This was a very powerful class, and very much.
That's what I was going to say, Bruce. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. You know, and there's nothing new to say anymore. So I will repeat the ultimate for me. I really love you collectively and individually. I really, really love you guys. Thank you for showing up and allowing this flow to happen, because it wants to happen. Rudy used to say he was a cow. If you don't pull at the tip, the milk doesn't flow. You guys are making this flow, and it's for you, but it's also for me and for us collectively, socially, for the totality. This flow is what it's all about. Thank you.
I need a hug, Bruce. I need a hug.
Yeah, I know it's really incredible. I just want to hug you all so much. I cannot tell you. So get your hugs where you can, and know that I really, really love you. And next week, same time, same station, we'll be here again. And I'll probably say the same thing again. And you're welcome to tune out if you want, or if you want to hear it again, check in.
We want to hear it again.
Okay, you will. Love you guys.
Thank you, Bruce.